Everywhere she goes, Ouyang Haoyu is followed. What she buys, how she behaves, is tracked and scored to show how responsible and trustworthy she is. It's called the social credit system, and in one version now being tested, a person's reputation is scored on a scale of 350 to 950. And Haoyu, with a good score of 752, is okay with it. In fact, most people are.
It's a mechanism pushes you to become a better citizen.
It's big data meets Big Brother, expanding how the government monitors, understands, and ultimately controls its 1.4 billion citizens. Thanks to advances in artificial intelligence and facial recognition, and a web of more than 200 million surveillance cameras.
Are people bothered by privacy concerns?
We think the lot of camera keep the safety is really good. We can accept it.
Companies are experimenting with the algorithms to help the government create the new national social credit system. The government also has pilot projects. In one, citizens are required to do hours of unpaid work to get benefits. And scores are docked for things like littering, a messy yard, gossip, even jaywalking. Video of offenders is shown on the local news. And information collectors like Zhou Aini are paid to report on their neighbors. Her quota, 10 entries a month. Like the man who carried a drunk person home. A good deed, she says. Good social credit gets rewarded with perks like cheap loans and travel deals. But a bad score means public shame and worse. Huang Huijun lost a court case and didn't pay. Now he's on a government blacklist. I can't buy airplane or train tickets, he says, and the list goes on. Being discredited makes it hard to get a job or put kids in top schools. The social credit system will go nationwide next year, and few here are willing to criticize it. Something that may pose a risk itself for a bad score and the life that comes with it. Janice Mackey-Frere, NBC News, Beijing.
All these are the beginning of sorrows. Matthew 24, verse 8. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rachakodash. Double honor to venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. Mr. Brother Aharon coming back at you with another quick update. This is more of an economic update. Lord willing to be informative to the elect. All right. And title goes, many unemployed Americans are applying for hundreds of jobs with no success as the unemployment rate surges to a 4-year high. Okay. It says frustrated job seekers all over America just got bad news, more bad news. The unemployment rate just hit the highest level that we have seen in 4 years. And that is yet another indication that the labor market is getting even tighter. If you currently have a job or a good job that you highly value, which there isn't that many out there, it says hold on to it because finding a replacement for that job would not be easy in this very challenging economic environment. In previous articles, it's been discussed about how much heartbreaking stories from unemployed Americans that have been unable to find work no matter how hard they have tried. It says we're going to share more of these stories today. It says when you are unemployed and month after month goes by without finding a job, it can really do a number on you and your self-esteem. If you have ever been through a stretch like that, you know exactly what I mean. 37-year-old Anna Whitlock, thought that it would be relatively easy to find another tech position when she was laid off in November 2024, but nearly a year later, she's still searching for work, right? And that's a lot of people. Okay, I know a lot of people today that are still looking for work, and I'm talking about previously they were living a very pretty much well-off life. They're, I'll say, close to multi-million-dollar people, multi-millionaires. Okay, because they had established themselves prior to the AI takeover. I'm gonna call it that. Okay, and a lot of the jobs that they created, or a lot of these things that they did for jobs, right, that they created was pretty much to aid in AI, which ended up taking their jobs, right? So they created something, made a lot of money off of it, were using it for a while until AI became, instead of a newborn baby, became a toddler, and then it grew, and now it's become an adult where it's taken over people's jobs, and you might think, oh, I'm gonna just leave this one and go to the other one, but shit, who knows how the other one is gonna be like? A lot of people are applying for jobs and not getting responses. You watch these videos on YouTube and you got people venting, crying, ranting in their cars. What am I going to do? I have 3 jobs and I still can't make it work. Some people just don't have no jobs. Some people are just getting laid off, right? I remember earlier this year I was watching some videos going into that, right? You have all these young, aspiring people that just got out of college. They're all excited to enter into these new, companies, and then they start 2 months, 3 months later, they get all these calls on a Zoom call, for a meeting, and then HR just dismisses them, right? Like, oh, thank you for your service, but, basically you didn't make it, or we're making a huge cut, and we're laying off so many different employees, and you happen to be one of them, some shit like that, and no matter what kind of argument you make, they always have some form of wiggle room to kind of wiggle the way out of it, where you can't hold them liable or responsible for, basically ending your life, right? Because you got people might just recently just got a new home, right? Like shit. And then, you need to have a job in order to pay for that new home, whether it's for renting or, most people just buy a new home, right? Mortgage and all that. So now you have, a situation where you're paying, maybe you have a $4,000 monthly mortgage, which is crazy, right? But as soon as you thought you had that, you're like, oh yeah, I got this new job. I'm getting paid $300,000 a year. You're excited. It's a new startup company, whatever the case may be. And then boom, the very few months later, boom, they hit you with the, we don't need your services here no more. You out of here. That shit is devastating. A lot of people, it's going to drive a lot of people to suicide, right? A lot of people just going to hop on drugs, right? Depression. See what I'm saying? And then now you're looking for a new job to replace the $300,000 job. It's not hard. It's not easy to go find another $300,000 job somewhere that's going to work in your benefit, right? It might be there, but guess what? It might not be in the same vicinity, close to your home that you just bought, right? Or some shit like that. You know what I mean? So it's just a whole bunch of BS that's going on. But again, this is what the prophets have been warning about for years, okay? That America is going to cease to become what you always thought it to be, which is always going to have this mindset of security, right? Americans are always in the mindset of, oh, everything is okay, and oh, we have some type of security, and the system works itself out, and our governments are doing this. And listen, bro, it's over with. Them days are done. Okay, when those days were going on back in the 2016s and 17s and shit, and these devils started popping out the woodwork. I'm talking about these elites, these tech giants and shit. They start popping out the woodwork on interviews and tech talks and, just straight up documentaries and shit. They were telling the world that in the next few years, starting in 2020, 2021, all right, you're going to see a different world, right? I remember World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab was talking about the fourth industrial revolution. I believe he started that shit back in 2016, as in coming out and talking about it. Okay, promoting what it means to be in the fourth industrial revolution, and going on stage and explaining it to a whole bunch of people who had no idea what the hell he's talking about, and yet they're still clapping for him and shit. It's just crazy, But again, you fast forward from 2016, now we're about to be in 2026, 10 years removed, and boom, you're seeing these things playing out. Okay, you're seeing these things playing out, and the only thing that's going to happen is it's only going to get worse. All right, 2026 is going to get worse because 2025. It was more like 2024. And everybody was like, yo, man, 2025, hopefully it's a better year. Nah, bro. We told you it's not going to be a better year. It's only going to get worse. And 2026 will be worse than 2025. So imagine that. Imagine that. If 2025 has the highest unemployment rate since the CB situation, then what are you going to see in 2026 when they have all these AI data centers up and running? All right, so they're preparing the people for that UBI system, that MOTB system. Okay, where Americans are going to be so depressed. It's not just a mental breakdown thing or mental health, because that's what they're going to blame it on, right? Oh, why are you complaining that you don't have a job? Whoa, well, why are you so depressed? Americans are crying because there's no jobs and all this extra shit. Like, then Trump gonna pop out and say, "I told you." I mean, for us to be to enter into that golden age, we have to go through a transitional period where it's going to be painful. A lot of people are going to struggle, but guess what? The light at the end of the tunnel, it's worth it. It's all worth it. You see? And then they're just going to coax you right into a new world order. And now you're sitting there thinking, how the hell do we get here? Well, it's over with. That's how. All right, that's how. So let's read about this Anna Whitlock. It says, when Anna Whitlock was let go from her job in the technology industry in November 2024, and that's one thing they've been saying too, is that in 2026 and beyond, however long we got left here, Lord willing, 2026 is the end. But if the Lord was to say, I'm going to extend it just another year or whatever, right? Esau is saying that from 2026 going on, every individual job position that you may apply for, it's going to be required, right? It's going to be required for the person applying to know or have some form of familiarity with how AI works. Okay, so if you're not tech savvy, that you're automatically eliminated from the concept of even working. Okay, if you're not tech savvy, that's the first step. You don't even know anything about tech. That includes people from what they call the developing world, right? You have people from the older people in our societies, right? The older heads that don't even know what a smartphone really is and how it works, but they have to have it because that's just how the world works now. They might be Verizon, but they had a flip phone back in the 1970s. Verizon finds out about it. They say, hey, listen, you're due for an upgrade because the phone you got doesn't really work with what we're doing right now. You can't receive no emails. And guess what? They set it up where you have to have an email in order to be able to have some service because they have to tie it on to your account and do this and do that. So guess what? These old people got to go into the store because they can't do it on their own. So they go into the store to help them set up an email, password, all that shit. They go to take their happy ass back home. Somebody goes in there, set up the service and everything for them. And they just watching TV. They don't know what is going on. They don't know how to check email. They don't know how to browse the internet. They just watching just cable TV and that's it. You see? But all those kind of people, guess what? They want to weed them out because the technological age has left them behind. Those people are left behind. Like if you're not able to adapt with technology, you've been left behind. Okay, so that's the new world that we're in now. That's just what it is. It's just the reality. All right, there ain't no way around it. And guess what? All these companies, they don't care about maybe a few 100,000 people that may not be able to be tech savvy. They don't care about that. They'll continue to milk you, right? For the whatever money or however much you're worth, they'll still milk you for it every month, right? But when it comes to the reality of, all right, you know what? When it comes down, well, we got to make the push full throttle. These old people are going to be exempt. So we're going to eliminate them anyway. That's the mindset. Okay, that's the mindset. And plus, they're the only generation, the last generation left. I'm talking about like people in their 70s and 80s and shit. They're the last generation left that has some type of sense of how things used to be before this new age shit, right? They know life before technology. They understand that, right? To a degree, they get it. So to them, it's like, yo, it's a different world. Like, oh, back in my day, we didn't have any of this. Like, oh my God, like technology has advanced so much. Now you can do this with the phone. And I have no idea what this phone can do, but it does so much. And you see, people like that, they're going to weed them out. Okay, but the point is, they saying that, moving forward, if you don't have any sense of understanding of AI and how it works, you probably not going to get that job. Because it's going to be one of those questions. Like, what's your experience level with AI? Do you have any familiarity with AI? And if so, can you tell me a little bit about it? Right? And then you're going to have niggas talking about, Python and, what's the other one? Shit. I'm familiar with a little Python here and there, And you'll be, all right, thank you, sir. You have a wonderful rest of your day. And that's the end of it. All right. But yeah, so go back to the article. It says, she wasn't worried about lining up a new position. The Washington State resident had 11 years of experience managing network infrastructure projects, a specialized role that involves equipping buildings with internet access, cameras, and Wi-Fi security systems. Okay, so that's a very valuable skill to have, but it doesn't aid you if you're not working for a company right now. You see what I'm saying? Like, knowing this type of shit, you gonna only have a job working with a company, like a actual, low-key corporation type, right? Because yeah, you could do all these things, but you don't have your own personal business. You can't have your own personal business. Well, you can, right? You can, but how many people actually gonna be able to do something like that and actually sustain that, right? If I got the same business, you got the same business, we live in the same place, chances are people are not looking for, us to come in and set up, cameras for them, a Wi-Fi system. They're gonna call a corporation like a Verizon or, AT&T or T-Mobile or whatever. You know what I mean? That's just examples, right? It says, so continue, it says, the last time I had to job research, I found something pretty easily, she said. Almost a year later, the 37-year-old is still without a job. Whitlock says she has applied to hundreds of jobs, even for positions she overqualified for, all to no avail. Okay? And Whitlock is highly qualified and has a ton of experience. But even though she has applied for hundreds of positions, her job search has gone nowhere, and now her unemployment benefits have run out. Oh shit. He said, the more I looked, the more I wasn't getting responses. If I did have an interview, I only made it the first 1 or 2 rounds, said Whitlock, who has a 16-year-old daughter. Things got really real when my unemployment ran out. Okay, so that also lines up with what the Lord said back in Matthew 24. Again, a lot of these prophecies that the Lord spoke about in Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13 is playing out. Okay, it's all playing out, man. All right, parts of it has played out already, but the parts that pertain to this time, we seen them shits, man. All right, not shits, but we seen them prophecies. Let me say it like that. All right, we're seeing them. Okay, let's get this in Matthew 24 and 19. It says, and woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. Why? Because you as a woman, number one, a woman with child means you're pregnant. Okay, you're pregnant, so you're with child. So that's you're gonna be at a disadvantage all the way through. All right, because number one, you gotta fend for yourself and the baby, and you can't do that by yourself because you need somebody else around you to help you with that. See what I'm saying? Because how many pregnant women out there? I mean, nowadays it's kind of like, it wouldn't be a shock to see a pregnant woman standing at Costco, scanning tickets or at the register. You're not going. It's not a shock to see that because life is tough. But in an ideal situation, a pregnant woman that starts showing, she shouldn't be anywhere around the public, right? Shit. I remember when my mom was pregnant with my brother, right? She was mostly, secluded. All right, the women because she had like midwives and shit. Like they had like the grandma, right? Like my mom's mom or her auntie or somebody who was older that had been through the childbirth process multiple times, right? They called them midwives, and they knew the herbs and they understood the herbs and, they understood how all these things work with the body and what stages in prophecy to take what and do this and so on and so forth. And so you had midwives around my mom when she was, she was carrying my brother. And most of the time she was very secluded in the sense that most people didn't see her. All right, from 3 months on in her pregnancy, she wasn't really that seen by even the people in the neighborhood, right? So they thought she had traveled or something, but she was mostly indoors. When she came out, it was very short times. Or if she went somewhere, it was like outside the public view, like nobody saw her, unless you were a close family member or somebody who she knew intimately, you weren't allowed to be even in the house, right? I don't know why they did that, but whatever reason they did. And not until she had delivered my brother, right? Then she was able to finally be outside and all these different things. It took after 30 days after that, or so 40 days, I think, before they allowed her to go outside and be around people and shit like that. But I remember that we couldn't even go into, she had her own quarters in her room, where she would be with the baby, but only the midwives could go in that room. You know what I'm saying? And I can go in there, but when she's not there, I go see the baby, I walk in there, go, oh shit, I see him in his small little cradle thing, but I couldn't go in there while my mom was in there with the baby for some reason. For the first 40 days, I couldn't do that. But then when we came to the truth, then we realized, oh, that goes back to the law. You see, but back then we didn't know. I'll come back from school and she's in the room, or she'll be outside the house somewhere, and then I can go into the room, go check in and then leave and then she'll come back, whatever. So, So just going back to the point I was making is that, pregnant women typically in the ideal situation are not supposed to be mingled in the public. Something happen, an emergency happens, you get stomped on, trampled, the baby, you lose a baby, something, anything. So it was always frowned upon for pregnant women to even be in the field of working and shit like that. But here in America, it's normal. It's normal. You have pregnant women that be fucking working in machinery and taking pictures and photos and all these different things. Like, yo, crazy. But the Lord says, well, woe unto them that give suck in those days, or that are with child, right? So if you're pregnant, or if you're nursing, if you have a child that you're currently nursing, or somebody that depends on you, right? That's also a form of nursing. It doesn't necessarily just have to be with, just milking the baby per se, but also nursing, nurturing, right? Somebody depends on you, right? Their mouth, their life, everything depends on you. That's a form of giving suck, right? So in the sense of physical, literal, and also figuratively, right? So in this lady's case, you fall in that category of her child that's, she's giving suck, right? In the sense of a 16-year-old daughter. 16-year-old is still, she's still underage, right? In certain states, she's barely legal, right? So she depends on you. She can't go out there and get a job. I mean, she can, but what job is out there that's going to pay her enough that she can actually chip in to pay rent or whatever the case may be, right? So you got to think about that. That's the reality, though. See, that's the reality. And Jake, for the most part, this type of shit is normal. But the Edomites and these other nations, they're not used to this. Especially the Edomites, they're not used to this. So it's becoming a huge problem for them, right? So it says here, there are countless others that are going through the same thing, and their ranks are growing with each passing day. In fact, when the government bureaucrats at the BLS are admitting that unemployment rate has risen to the highest level that we have seen in more than 4 years, you're in trouble. It says the unemployment rate in November rose to 4.6%, the highest level since September 2021. I believe it's way higher than that. You firing all these different thousands, millions of people, right? Whether it's from Amazon or whether it's from tech giant corporations or whatever the case may be, millions of people are without jobs right now. And the jobs that they have is still not cutting it. All right. You barely have a job now that you work in that you like, okay, I'm living a little comfortable right now. In the sense that, okay, I got after I get my check, all my bills are paid, and I got food to eat, and I can have enough back where I could say, you know what, I can even travel now. Most people don't have that shit. Okay, most people don't have that shit. They barely making it. Once you pay your bills and everything, you're looking forward to the next check. That's how it is right now, living paycheck to paycheck. All right, so that's just the reality of it. No matter who you are, what you're saying, that's just the system now. That's just the system, and that's all part of what the economy tanking. Okay, and that's also you're gonna see the money, the dollar. You're gonna see how worthless it's gonna be in 2026. All right, you're gonna start seeing it a lot more. You see how you got silver up to what, $60 an ounce right now? Boy, wow. So what's gonna happen next year? Okay, gas prices might even shoot up, skyrocket, because of all this shit that's going on with Venezuela and all that, but we'll see. All right, the Lord said these are the beginning of sorrow, so we'll see. It says the November the November employment report offers a fresh picture of the labor market after a 6-week blackout and official data caused by the recent government shutdown. The data suggests that employers in industries ranging from manufacturing to hospitality are hitting the pause button on hiring amid concerns about economic growth and tariff costs, some economists noted. Right, I believe in Vegas, right? Vegas is complaining that, there's no tourism, bro. Vegas used to be the place, gambling in the casinos and the whatever, the tourists, right? They said a lot of people, ain't nothing going on. Ain't nothing going on, especially last summer. Bro, they said, a lot of people that work in these casinos and shit, they said, bro, we ain't seeing nobody. We ain't seeing no money. We're not doing shit. Okay? So that goes all across the board. The people that run these hotels, when people come in there to live there, they saying, it's been empty as hell. It's been empty as hell. The people that be running these nightclubs out there, they say, man, we ain't seeing no type of bread coming in. Like at the most, most popular times that you have a lot of people, busy traffic and all that, that shit is dead. That shit is dead, man. And even yesterday, I remember I was driving back from work, and I was just looking outside, and I was just like, damn, like the Christmas spirit is gone, you know. And it's like, yo, part of it is like, yeah, that's a beautiful thing, but at the same time, it's like, yo, I remember when we were kids growing up, and there was like a Christmas spirit out there, like around this time of the year, even before you hit December, like we like a few days from so-called Christmas, right? I think, when is it? I think it's like it's coming Wednesday or Thursday or some shit, right? But back then, yo, it was like you couldn't miss it. You know what I'm saying? You got the trees everywhere, you got the lights everywhere, you got the music going, and all that satanic shit was going on. But back then, in our ignorance, we didn't know. So it was just normal. Like, we didn't think any harm of it. But now that we know what it is, we seen how it really is, bro. It's like, yo, that's crazy. You know? But that shit is dead, bro. You don't see that many people with lights, and it's just a few people, but they looked at as weirdos now because they go above and beyond. You got niggas that got Santa Claus on the slate in the freaking with a damn Bambi or whatever, and they have that shit on their lawn. You know what I'm saying? All these different lights. You walking your dog past some houses, and the dog is bugging out because he's seen all this weirdo shit. He's like, what the fuck is this? Right? Just a few people though, but most people, they're not even in that Christmas spirit like that. It's just like bland. You just see an American flag waving, and that's it. All right, all right. But let's keep going. It says here, businesses are not hiring as they adjust to tariffs, uncertain conditions, and AI. The result is about 700,000 more unemployed Americans than there were a year ago, said Heather Long, chief economist at Navy Federal Credit Union, in an email. Okay, so think about what this not having a job will affect, because not having a job does not mean that your bills are gonna just go away automatically, you know. But it feels like whenever you get a job for the first time, you start getting bills. But when you don't get a job, the bills don't stop, right? It's crazy. It says in 2021, we were still recovering from the massive spike in unemployment that we experienced during the initial stages of the pandemic. What excuse do we have now? According to one prominent economist, the U.S. economy is now in a jobs recession. Wow. Okay, so there ain't no jobs, and if there ain't no jobs, you could apply all you want, unless the Lord is working with you and He got something for you. You're asked out. You are asked out, and you have to figure something out. And it's not easy to figure something out. Remember, your bills keep coming. All right? And this is all a trap. We told you this. This is all a setup. They did this on purpose. Okay? The U.S. economy is in a jobs recession, said Heather Long, chief economist at Navy Federal Credit Union. The nation has added a mere 100,000 in the past 6 months. The bulk of those jobs were in healthcare, an industry that is almost always hiring due to America's aging population. And a lot of healthcare workers are also leaving that field. You know, they're starting to realize that, damn, like, I'm just working, going around in circles and not seeing nothing. You're working stressful hours. The people that you work with suck, right? It's all politics and drama and bullshit. You don't want to deal with that shit, right? They don't treat the patients well at all, right? It's just a business for them, you know. And people with a conscience, they don't want to be in that kind of environment, so they end up leaving because it's just such a dark place. It drains you, man. Imagine that shit. You wake up every day, go to the same spot, and you're dealing with all these miserable ass people. It's gonna drain you out, man, right? So everything is just toxic. You got all these vaccinated people walking around and fucking up everything, bro. All right, they're just messing everything up, man. Their brains ain't working right. Their whole entire human faculty is not working properly, man. It's all messed up. All right, and it makes you wonder. Those of us who are, not taking the thing, right? It makes us wonder, like, well, what the fuck happened to these people, man? But we know what happened to them. But it's still annoying when you got to deal with them in reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, you at work. If I'm home, I don't got to deal with nobody. It's not a problem. They could take all the jump shots they want. I don't really care. But when you driving, you be like, oh, shit, these motherfuckers. Or you go to the store, you be like, oh, shit. Or you in public, then you like, oh, shit. These people are going, bro. They got to go. They got to be out of here already. All right? So it says, It takes approximately 150,000 new jobs a month just to keep up with population growth. So over a 6-month period, the U.S. economy must produce 900,000 new jobs just to keep up with population growth. Well, anyway, so the fact that we have added only 100,000 new jobs over the last 6 months means that we are 800,000 new jobs short of what would be required just to be treading water. Okay? And I was doing some research the other day, and I was actually talking to my brother about it, that in today's economy, compared to back in the 30s, in order for you to actually survive today's economy, for minimum wage, you got to be making $60 an hour. $60 an hour that you got to be making in order to just survive. I'm talking about, this is minimum wage. I get paid minimum wage, right? I'm doing a minimum wage job. You're supposed to be getting $60 an hour. And that's when you'll be able to tread water. Like, oh, okay, I could pay my rent. I could pay for food and just barely survive for my next paycheck type shit. You got to be making $60 an hour. So for those of us who ain't making $60 an hour, where do we stand, right? We below the poverty line, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? You're below the poverty line if you ain't making $60 an hour, and that's majority of Americans. How many jobs you know? Except, you have these contractor jobs, but ain't that many people got those positions, bro? You see what I'm saying? So yeah, man, this is all an indicator of how America is through. She's out of here. Okay, the very thing that makes America, tick, which is the grinding, right? Clearly, it's ceasing. When you see there ain't no jobs out there, that's all part of the grinding ceasing, man. Okay, and soon it's gonna be just shut down. All right, it's not gonna be it's just gonna be shut down. All right, it says, digging deeper into the numbers that the BLS released, we discovered that the number of full-time workers in the U.S. fell by nearly 1 million between September and November. Wow. It says in November, the number of full-time workers plunged by 983,000 from September to 134.17 million people. At the same time, in the 2 months since September, the number of part-time workers soared by over 1 million, which is 1.2 million to be precise, to 29 million. That's a lot of people. From 1 million to 29 million. Shit. Wow. And it's happening this fast, right? It's happening very fast within a month or two. It says throughout 2025, large companies have been ruthlessly laying off highly paid workers all over the nation. In fact, Challenger, Gray and Christmas has reported that the number of announced job cuts through the first 11 months of this year was 54% higher than the number of announced job cuts through the first 11 months of last year. Okay? Salakia. It says, most of the jobs that are being cut are good paying full-time jobs. We're talking about the sort of jobs that college graduates work. Once upon a time, a college degree was a ticket to a good job and a middle-class lifestyle. But these days, a college degree is a lot less valuable than it once was. All right, and that's every degree. All right, it doesn't matter what degree you got. It's worthless because if you don't understand AI, you could have a degree in history or a degree in nursing. They just recently just said nursing degrees ain't shit. Right? It's not considered a degree. It's just, you see what I'm saying? It's like, yo, you just got to keep going, get some more certification. You know what I'm saying? Just because you have a nursing degree don't make you no nurse. We ain't satisfied with that. All right? Because a lot of women, they just, let me just do that. Right? For the men, it was mostly, let me join the military. You know what I'm saying? You come back, after you serve maybe like 3 years, 5 years or whatever, that the VA take care of you after that. But it's certain it works in certain instances, right? Not all, because I've seen people that, due to the VA situation, they get excluded from certain things. Like life is a little harder for them. You like to think it's the opposite, but it's America, it's Babylon, all right? It's the city of confusion. It says, not so very long ago, the accepted wisdom, or at least the advice that your parents told you over and over again, was that going to college to get a degree would set you up to be more successful in life, opening more doors to interesting careers and bigger wage checks. But new data from the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland suggests that this may no longer be quite so definitive today. In fact, some kids who are fresh owners of high school diplomas may be finding it easier to land jobs than their more educated colleagues. You hear that? So you go to college, you spend all this money, right? You in debt. You need to come get a job so you can pay off this debt. But yeah, you ain't got no job. You ain't making no money. All right? Let me just put it like that. Fuck a job. You ain't making no money, man. All right? That's what it boils down to. You got to make money. That's why you get a job. But if you ain't making no money, regardless, some people got jobs, they ain't making no money. Okay? All the wages are going up in terms of what you got to pay and what you got to put out. But what you're making in is less and less and less. It feels like. All right? Because the money that you have is worthless. Okay? And they're going to make it even more worthless when they switch everything over to digital. That's why it's all going to be programmable. That's not real money, bro. Programmable currency? Fuck out of here. It says, I feel bad for young people, young college graduates that are trying to find work right now. Listen, work with your hands. Okay? Go down to the basics and work with your hands. And that's why, I've been pushing it to get skills. Okay? Learn skills, man. Having one skill is good, but having multiple skills, better. Right? Because if this maybe you a plumber, you always gonna have jobs, right? Because people at home, a lot of people work from home and so on and so forth. Like you always gonna have work. If you're an electrician, you always gonna have work, right? What else? These jobs that are basic, that appear to be basic, but they're very necessary, right? Somebody get a new home, they need a contractor to come in and set up their new wiring and all that. If you know how to do that, that's money in your pocket right there. Right, you could fuck around and set up your own, LLC or your own business, low key. You know what I'm saying? And then just work around that. You don't have no boss, nobody telling you what to do. You're an independent contractor. They deal with you on that kind of time. It's like, I need a contractor. If you know how to do the job, you go in there and you do what you got to do. You see what I'm saying? So that's my mindset right now, at least, right? To learn multiple skills, even if it's, being a car electrician or a car technician, I'll call it that, right? They call them, what's the name? Mechanic, right? You could learn a lot from that. You could make a lot of money off of that. You could be a mobile mechanic, especially around this time of the year, when it starts getting cold, most cars are starting to have problems, right? Your check engine light is on, this is on, this is da, 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 da. If you know how to do these things, that's money in your pocket because you're in high demand. If you got to do this shit for like the next 2-3 months, you can make enough money that could hold you for another 3 months, So you got to think of it more like that. You got to be more strategic. You got to break away from the old way of doing things, the set standard, which is go to school, get a degree, and get a job. Guess what? That shit does not work no more. In the fourth industrial revolution, go to school, get a job, and shit like that, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not working. Okay? Especially when Elon Musk is telling you that, very soon in the next year or so, you're not even going to have no jobs because AI is going to take over everything. They're not playing. Okay? So we should be playing. Anyway, so continue. It says, when Jake Fishman graduated from Cornell, he graduated Cornell. Look at that. He assumed that his degree would open up all sorts of doors for him. But after applying for over 300 jobs, he is still without a job. Each morning, Jake Fishman, 25, opens his laptop to repeat the same ritual. Scrolling through Handshake, LinkedIn, Indeed, he submits countless cover letters and resumes that, according to him, rarely get a response. Since graduating from Cornell's Nolan School of Hotel Administration in May, Fishman estimates that he has applied to more than 300 jobs and has only heard back from 5. Bruh. Imagine that. You just send an application after application after 300 jobs. More than 300. And you heard back from only 5. And them 5 was more like, just the interview process and then that's it. You don't hear back from them no more. That's crazy work. Okay, it says a lot of people assume that those that are unemployed are idle, but of course that is not true at all. And that's going to be the same case with people who are going to become homeless very soon, because this leads to homelessness. When if you can't afford what you're living in, they're going to kick you out eventually. You're going to be evicted. And what that does is it affects your credit. So now in the social credit system, you're already behind the 8 ball, okay? Because you just couldn't hack it. The system failed you. This is what it means to see in the book of let's get this. Hold on. Let's get this. The system is failing. All right, the system has failed. Yeah, this is people just realizing that, damn, shit. All right, this is a book of This is the book of Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 3. It says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards." And that's what you're going to start seeing. People are so pressed, right? They're so confused. They're going to be so depressed. They're going to lose hope, right? The spirit of Egypt has failed. Okay, the happiness, the happy-go-lucky, the thing that makes people run and wake you up and go to work, and that drive that inspires you to keep on moving and keep on being a great, good slave. That shit is dead because people see it now, right? The veil has been pulled back, so to speak, by way of this truth. You see, so it's just materializing. It's just manifesting right now. You know, and people are like, oh, shit, damn, no. This is all going to bleed into homelessness. All right. That's why Trump is already setting the stage for internment camps for the homeless. And the homeless is not people who don't have jobs. It's just people who just don't have homes. It's just people who lost jobs, couldn't find work, ended up not being able to pay for what they had, which mostly car note, or they're going to start repoing all that shit. So once you see your car going, right, being repoed, soon it's going to be your house being taken away from you. Okay, by these giant corporations that are doing all this damage anyway. The Blackstones of the world, the BlackRocks of the world, the Vanguards of the world, the State Streets of the world. All these companies, they're the ones doing this shit to you. Okay? So if you got beef with somebody, go holler at Larry Fink. All right, find out where he live at and go holler at him. You know, go at his house or some shit, you know what I mean? But and oh, by the way, Larry Fink is also co-CEO of the World Economic Forum. Thought I'd mention that too. Anyway, continue. It says, but of course, that is not true at all. Searching for work in this environment is essentially a full-time job, just without the pay though. You ain't get paid for that. It says that Fishman says that he is somehow busier than ever. Oh man, Yahweh Shabbat Shah, man, yo. He got him busy doing busy work for nothing, not getting paid. That's diabolical. That's diabolical. Oh man, it says, despite being unemployed, I'm somehow busier than ever. Fishman said, basically applying for a job is a full-time job. Yo, Salakia, it's not a funny thing, but it's funny. All right, but because these people never saw this coming. Meaning they were not even in tune. Like when we were prophesying about these days coming, these niggas was busy focusing on their life. Like, oh, I'm busy. Man. Life was good back then. Life was good. Life was good, bro. Life was good back then, bro. You know, back then you had 99-cent stores, right? You had Dollar General, man. They charge you more than $1 now, right? More than $1. You definitely gonna pay more than $1, right? They had so many different things back then. You know, just a few years ago, it's all gone, all gone. They got tipping, right? The whole tipping thing. Have y'all noticed that shit? Everywhere you go is like they put this thing, especially if you pay with your car. That's why when I go out, I always try to use cash because they can't ask you for no tips. When you use your card, they try to G you with that shit. Yo, some places 25% tip, 35%. I'm like, yo, who the fuck you think you want? Yo, how am I going to buy something for $10 and I'll pay a $25 tip for what? For what did you, just for a bottle of water or whatever the fuck I just got? Like, what are you told? What am I tipping you for? It's become like a generic thing. Like, yo, no matter what, tipping was more for the restaurant industry, like service industry. I go in, I get service, you get tipped for the work you did because I'm thanking you for the service that you provided. If I go sit at a restaurant and the waitress is great, I mean, great, not just in the sense of the service, but God, she looks good. That's part of the service, God damn it. She looked good, right? So, yo, we talking, vibing, da-da-da, whatever. Ask her a few questions, you know, things happen, whatever the case may be. She getting that tip. No pun intended. She's getting a nice, beautiful tip, you see, because of the services she provided, right? But now you go to like a Greek restaurant or whatever, right? Mediterranean spot. You know, you order this, you call them, hey, I want to place an order for da-da-da-da-da. And you go over there to go pick up your food, you're paying for it, and they got this thing right there like $10. You know, what's the percentages? They got 15%, 25%, 30% tip. You're like, what service did you provide me again that I got to give you a tip? I put no tip. I'm not even going to put no customer. And they be staring at you, waiting to see what you're going to do. And then the people around you is also looking at you like, oh, how much is he going to tip? I just put no tip with confidence too. No tip, scan, put the card in there. If I'm using my card, I'll do that. If I'm not, as soon as I see the tip, I pull the cash out. You know, so how much is it? $25, $20? Boom, here you go. Boom. Thank you. You have a good night. That's it. You just made me the food. I paid for I came here to pay for the food. Here you go. But nah, everywhere you go, bro, everywhere. It's like people it's like it's like, what the fuck? What am I paying for a tip for? Like, anyway, it's just weird, man. It's just weird. This whole tipping culture, it's a culture now. It's crazy. And then guess what? It's mostly these corporations that are doing that shit, right? It's like, bro, stop. Stop. Why are we tipping Walmart? Stop it. I don't want to hear nothing, bro. Anyway, so Continue says, I wish that I could tell job seekers that conditions will soon improve, but I can't do that because it's not that'll be falsifying. You're not telling the truth. All right, the truth is shit is about to get worse, nigga. That's the truth. Okay, it's about to get a whole lot worse. Okay, a whole lot worse. Where it's not just you don't have a house. It's you don't got food to eat. All right, there's a diseases outbreak going around all over the place. You don't feel secure. You feel afraid every day, right? They got killer robot drones scanning all the areas to find people and shit. Like, it's just about to be a dystopian nightmare. It's coming. All right. It says, yes, economic conditions are really rough right now, but I am convinced that they will continue to deteriorate during the months ahead. So if you are without work, I would encourage you to grab whatever is available while you still can. A major economic storm has now arrived, and the intensity of that storm is only going to increase as we head into 2026. Okay? So prepare, right? If you haven't prepared, well, that'll be the time. All right, you got a few more weeks, probably a week and a half now. If that's enough time, hey, take advantage of it. Okay? Because we in them days, man. This is it. All right? These are the days of sorrows, as the Lord spoke about in Matthew 24. Okay? There's a book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 3 says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. As a matter of fact, let's start off a little bit at the top. Ecclesiastes 12, verse 1, it says, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not. And that's what all the prophets and all the members of the elect, the hopeful elect, that's all we did. Right? We remembered Yahweh Basham Yahshua. When he called upon us by way of his prophets, we heard it. And we hearkened onto that calling. Okay? We hearkened onto that calling. We heard the voice, and it did something in our minds. All right? We heard the calling, and we were compelled in our minds to go towards that calling. Okay? And when we went to that calling, we heard, oh shit, this is what that calling is about, because we could hear the trumpet. So we walked towards where the sound was coming from, and then when we got there, the teller or the seer, right? The seers, the prophets, told us exactly why they're blowing the trumpet and what warning they were given. This was back for us. I mean, it was about a decade now, but brothers, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades. Who knows, right? But they heard the same sound and they followed the sound. And when they arrived, they met the prophets. And when they met the prophets, when we all met the prophets, we said, oh shit, hey, beautiful. Call Yah Basham Yahshua. You sent the prophets. We've been looking. Here we are. Okay, now what do we need to do? Oh, this is what's coming. This is what this is this. Yo, the apostles covered everything. The true men of the Lord, they went through everything. They taught us everything about what the MOTB is. Get ready, it's coming. And they taught it with such urgency. We all prepared. We've been preparing for years. Okay? Mentally, spiritually preparing. Physically, not so much you could really do. right? But it's all mostly spiritual that you got to be mostly prepared for, because that's what's going to count. All right. We always talk about your spiritual bank account. The number one thing that you got to have with the spiritual bank account is faith. Number two is patience. All right. Number three is hope. If you have those three things in your spiritual bank account and they're high up there, you can always tap into that. Okay. Faith, hope, patience, you can always tap into that. Them things always boost up your spiritual bank account. All right. Your faith, your patience, and your hope, those three things you can't go wrong with. All right. You can't go wrong with that. But again, we were seeking the Lord in the days of our youth. All right. Meaning we were fresh to this thing, like, oh shit, this was going on. We had friends in the world that we told them about it. But guess what? They went about living their own lives. You know what I'm saying? They didn't care. They didn't take what we were taking seriously. They didn't take it like that. So now what's going to happen? They're going to be the ones looking for us and say, yo, everything y'all was saying is all happening. Yo, what are you doing about it? Da, da, da. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. I'm turning off my phone. So don't reach out to me. Don't. All right. It says, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Okay? Life isn't pleasant no more. Right? We in the times where a nigga just said, you know, he ain't got no job, but he feel like he's working a full-time job looking for jobs. That's not no pleasure, nigga. Fuck that. I don't want nobody want to do no shit like that. Shit, you might as well just go work like a regular, you know, some underground job and get, you know, make some money doing something like that. You know, go work underneath the table somewhere, like, you know, off the books, so to speak, right? Some of these restaurants or whatever the case may be, that'll pay you off the books. You make a little bit, you know, a few shekels here and there, compared to sitting behind your computer, you know, looking for jobs that don't exist. You know, it says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened, and the doors be shut, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So that's all part of the spirit of Egypt failing, bro. Okay? The business, the grinding ceasing, right? All those things, the grinder, it says what? The grinders cease because they are few. Okay? All these things, the things that made America tick, this, especially like I was saying before, you in a time where it's a holiday season, there's a lot more traffic. Yo, it's been dead, even for work. For us who are working in a blue collar field, so to speak, it's been dead. I remember last year was busier than this year. You know, it's been dead. It's been so dead. Like, yo, even your managers, your bosses, you tell them about it. Like, yo, what's going on? Like, it's like a drought out here. They don't even have no answers for you. The only thing is, oh, we got a meeting coming up next week to discuss these things. You know, the manpower, the work labor, da-da-da. Like, they're just talking, bro. They're just talking. It's just to pacify you. But really, ain't shit going on. Ain't shit going on, man. You know, and then whatever's left out there is like hard work. You know, hard work, man. It takes some time to actually learn the art, the skill, the craft, and then go out there and apply it. Shit. So it's tough out here for everyone, man. You know, it's definitely tough out here. But ultimately, the Lord got the elect. Okay? He got the elect, man. He got the elect. All right? All right, so, let me see here. I'm going to see if there's any more points in the article that I wanted to make. I think I've covered it all. Yeah. So, yeah, unemployment is going to go higher because, hey, that's all biblical prophecy. Okay, biblical prophecy. And this is what's going to lead to people fighting against each other because desperate times call for desperate measures. Okay, what does the prophecy say in the book of 2nd Ezra? It says, for lack of bread and for great tribulation. Let's get that real quick. It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 15. Start off at verse 15. Actually, start off at verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. So when you look at people like Alex Karp and Palantir, and you look at you know, the Gideon technology, nowadays they got this new thing called flock cameras that's all over the place. I think I might have done a lesson on it before when it first came out, but I might have to revisit that topic again because it's definitely advanced since its inception. All right, but you see them small little black cameras everywhere that look like it has a small little solar panel on it. Those are what is known as flock cameras. Okay? And they're using that to surveil everyone. Every car that passes, it watches everything. Every detail that it can calculate, it picks up on it, and it gives it over to law enforcement. Okay? They're using that technology, all right, to come after people. Okay? Completely disregarding the Fourth Amendment. Completely. But anyway, it says what? For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, right? So the improvement of technology is mainly to have control over the earth. And they're going to use that control through what? Through the methods they've always used, which is always going to be violence, death, destruction. Okay, Esau's not creating all this technology to bring peace like he says. No. It's for death, destruction, and for control. Okay? It says, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. That's symbolizing what? Civil war, race wars, and so on and so forth. Okay, a division. All right? And they've been fomenting that division with the whole Democrats, Republican shit. And they want to even press down on it even more as January comes about, because they got another shutdown coming. There's going to be another government shutdown that's coming. Okay? To begin the year, so to speak. All right? It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes. Right? That's a sign of lawlessness. Okay? That is a time of anarchy. All right? That is a time of total, complete, controlled chaos. Okay? Because it's going to be controlled to a degree. All right? You're not going to get to just do whatever the hell you want to do. They'll allow you to do enough for them to be justified to bring in that order. All right? It says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. So we're going to start seeing a lot of these things play out in 2026, because the stage has been set for that. Okay? It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Here's the key. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. That's the key. Because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay? So when you're seeing unemployment rates at an all-time high like it is, and things are worse than the so-called Great Depression, just understand that we're in those times that the scriptures talk about. Perilous times, evil times. Okay? Evil times, man. A time like never before. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to leave it off there. Lord willing, you are edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachakodash, the Wadi Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Until next time, Shalom.